Okay, so this one we're going to go to Mars. What I've done is I've added some side thruster. I brought the two thrusters here. I brought them in so they're connected like you've shown me before, as long as they're touching. I put these ones on connectors so I can get rid of them when I want to. And I'll show you how that's done. And then whoops, did not want to do that. I am going to make sure I've got an appropriate rocket for this one. Yeah, I noticed I had the... Oh no, that's the one. That's the stage I want. Okay, so we're going to leave that one. I'm going to raise what I've also done compared to the moon rocket. Oh, I'm partly invisible. There we go. I'm going to move the controlling thrusters up a little bit. But what I've also done is I've changed the... actually, I'm going to show you something here too. I've changed the size and just gave it more fuel. But I'm going to get rid of that one because I don't think I'm going to need it. Mars doesn't need a lot of fuel. So I'm going to change this to make this thing also a probe. And the reason I'm doing that is so that way once I disconnect the capsule, if I want to, I can still control the main rocket itself as well. It'll be two rockets going at the same time, which is a bit of a juggle, but it's kind of fun. Oh, I'm going to add in... I'm going to move that out of the way a sec. I'm going to add in a second rocket. And the reason for that is sometimes you come in a little hot when you get to Mars, because Mars doesn't have a very thick atmosphere, so you come through it pretty fast. So a second one might help me to slow down fast enough at first, and then it's just little spurts of fuel just to make sure I don't overshoot. Okay, let's go with that. So we're going to Mars. So one thing I want to do is I'm going to go back to build. I'm going to show you how to do staging as well. So what I can do is, there's my rocket. On the very bottom, just above the left and right, this is for if you want to make something in symmetry or not. Just above that is staging. And what this one has is I've turned on, I went plus, and then I added in the engines at the bottom. So that'll say turn them all on. And then I went plus, and I said disconnect the two side thrusters. And then I went plus, disconnect this. Pointing it doesn't help. Disconnect this. So the side things is going to say pop off these rockets. Then I can tell it next stage, pop this off. Next, at that same time, start this engine and start these side engines. Okay. And then what I want, I stopped at that point just so I can show you this now. It's going to do this, guys. The next thing I want it to do is a new stage. So I'm going to go stage, and I'm going to say pop this one. Turn on these two engines. Okay. So I want it to automatically fire those engines on, and then we're good to go. And I'm not going to tell it to pop the last one because oh, you know what we could do though, is we can tell it theoretically do these legs. Yep. So it'll automatically deploy the legs when it turns on those other rockets on the bottom. Okay, now we come back to here. We go to launch. And all I need to do now is on the lower right hand side now. There's a play button. So I can take the fuel up, hit that play button, and you can see it says engines are on. Go on. And I don't have to tap each individual rocket now. Just going to move that out of the way. Okay, so we're going to get up to about 1,000-ish. We'll see where we get, because basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to get it so that it's up high enough that I get enough thrust going up. And the reason we start to do just like we did with the moon is you want to try to get an orbit. Okay, so they're 1,000 up. It says I can go to 10, so I'm going to go to 10. I'm looking at my phone here as I'm doing this. Yeah, I can go to 20. There we go. Just let it keep going. I'm going to go to 30. So we need that orbital angle velocity as well, not just an up velocity. Go to 45. So that arc shows us the current shape of our orbit, which right now would just take us right back into the ground. Go to 60-ish. There we go. I'm watching that arc to make sure it'll eventually allow me to get to the top. Yeah, I'm just doing a recording. If you want to come down, you can come down if you want. Okay, so as soon as, I want to make sure I'm not going to go too high. And as soon as it says that those side rockets are done, I'm just going to hit that little play button on the lower right. There we go, pop them off. That's what the staging does for you. So let's see our shape. I'm going to pause, get myself a little bit closer by hitting the fast forward, change my angle. Okay, close enough. Let's go play. So the thrusters are going, and as again, once we get to the point where those bottom ones are done, I'm just going to hit that play button on the lower right, and that will go to the next stage. So I reached low Earth orbit, which is good. Let's pause. Oh, and I'm out of fuel right at that time too, so it's good timing. So let's eject and pause. Let's see where we are. Okay, that works. Let's go to Mars. So I just back out until I can see Mars, navigate to, go back in. And one of the things I want to look at here is where's my transfer. There's my transfer window, is right there. So I'm going to loop around high speed until the Earth is starting to come towards that transfer window. I'm in orbit, so I'm not worried about that. And you can see the transfer window starts to slow down. And the reason for that is because I'm swooping in. Right? I've got an elliptical shape orbit, so I want to watch this. And as soon as that changes from transfer window to encounter or whatever, I think, forget there, escape. Go back, zoom in, because it now says escape. Find the dotted lines here, transfer windows on the top, so I'm just going to run around. I'm using a slingshot approach because my orbit is elliptical. The closer I get to the Earth, the faster I'm going. So I didn't plan that directly here, but that's really what's happening. It's at its fastest speed, the closest it gets. Okay, so I'm going to adjust my aim. Okay. You see it's turned on those thrusters. Remember, that was the other thing that happens at that stage. Okay, and we're close enough. Fire. So the rocket's going. Now what I want to do is just watch the big shape here. And what's going to happen, I'm going to go speed it up. The fastest you can go is 3 times at this one. But what I'm doing here is I'm just overshoot. Just that long shape there is going to stretch up past the moon and go all the way to escaping Earth's atmosphere, or the Earth's gravitational field. So we just wait. That's why I went 3 times fast, because this can take a little while, and I am burning fuel right now, but so I want to keep an eye on that. I'm going to start slowing down the thrust. I slow down the acceleration, and what's going to happen is this line is going to extend all the way out past here and just become one line, because that says I'm leaving the Earth's gravitational field. I'm going to come in, and that dotted line is where I'm aiming for. So I'm going to come in, and as soon as I start getting close, I stretch it out. And I'm waiting for it to disappear, because that basically means I've reached the point. And what'll happen is it will start, the dotted line will start moving a little bit too. And as soon as it disappears, I stop my thrust. Slow down my speed a little bit here. There we go. It's disappeared, so I stop my thrust. Let's back out. Go to, there it is. There's my line coming in. So now I go this, pick up the speed a bit. Okay, getting closer. You got to watch your speed with this one. So now we're passing the outer moon, and somewhere about here is where I'd like to stop, just before Phobos. You can see how it's moving. That's normal. It'll just do that. So now we go high speed. I've just turned off my thrust, so I'm no longer thrusting at this point. I just want to get there. And we start to approach. You can see how it suddenly goes higher than Mars's orbit, which means it's going relatively slower. As you go higher, you're going slower. When you're lower, you're going faster. That's something to keep in mind when you start doing space stations, to try to approach the space station. So we're coming up. Now watch what happens. As soon as I get inside there, I don't need to keep moving the ship now, or the screen, because it knows this is where I'm trying to track onto. Don't go past it. So I need to keep an eye on it. I've gone past before and it just makes it work to try to fix it after. So what we're going to do is we're going to get in there, just like we did for the moon. We're going to get in there, we're going to turn around. So I'm going to start turning here now. It's almost a straight line, so I can just get up close. And then I'm just going to hit full thrust and just try to slow down enough so that the gravitational pull of Mars takes over. It's the same concept if you want to go to one of the moons, but a lot harder, because it's very sensitive at that point. So I'm just coming in closer. Make sure my thrust is going to be pointing in the right direction. Come in closer. And when you're doing it, like trying to do a space station thing, you're just using those little side thrusters. You're not using the main rockets anymore. So make sure we're pointing. A little bit more. Okay, let's see where we are. Yep, pointing in the right spot. Full thrust. Make sure the rocket's on. There we go, rocket's on. And we start to slow down. You can see how I started off with the encounter line was inside of Phobos, and by the time it juggled itself a little bit, it's now outside. You can see I'm slowing myself down, so I'm just going to pick up this time acceleration here a little bit. Every now and then, just make sure I'm pointing. And what's going to happen is the line that's going off to the side, which is escaping Mars's gravitational field, will eventually curve around and come back in on the other side, indicating that we've reached an orbit. There it goes. And with this, you don't want to let it go too fast, so I'm just slowing down the speed here. Okay, so the farthest one is our farthest reach of our orbit. The other one is our inner reach of the orbit. So we're currently elliptical, but It'll come around, they'll flip. That's pretty normal. And it starts to slow down. Like I'm still going full throttle here, and it's slowing down on how fast it's coming in. So I've now switched to inside of Phobos. And I'm going to zoom in more because I do not want to enter the atmosphere yet. I want to get into a low Mars orbit. About there. Okay, so I've turned off the thrust, let it move around. You can see all my lunar station and my other landings that have happened on here. I've got a bunch of them on here. I'm going to turn it around because I do want to slow down some more. Okay. So let's just get in there. And we've got all sorts of different targets that we can aim for once we get in here. Okay. So we're just about there. This one we're just going to slow down more to get the outside, the furthest point of our orbit in closer. There we go. So let's bring it in. And at some point it'll go, you've reached Mars, low Mars orbit. There we go. So we've got a low Mars orbit. I'm just going to let it swing around some more here to come in a little bit closer. There we go. Going to move around to the other side. There's Mount Olympus on Mars at the top there. And I don't want to come in super steep of an angle because Mars's atmosphere is so thin that I'll just burn up and it won't be pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come about here. I'm going to start turning on the thrust, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it so you can see that the line will suddenly come into the planet itself. So I'm thrusting. You can see it's now at the very bottom there. It's showing that we've entered the atmosphere down over here. And if I keep going, it'll say your direction will now take you into the planet. And it's not really accounting for the atmosphere. And it says that right now it's showing that we're actually entering just above Mount Olympus. So we're going to land somewhere in this area is where I'm going to aim for. I could have looped around and then tried to land on Mount Olympus, which you can see I've got one on the top of Mount Olympus there. But we're not going to try to do that here. We're just going to try to give ourselves a landing point. And all I'm going to do with this right now is just try to slow myself down a little bit more. So we're going to go flying over Mount Olympus. I want to give myself enough atmosphere there so I've got something that I can slow down in. Okay. You know what we're going to do now? We're going to eject the big guy. In fact, I should either just go stage. I do this sometimes because I want to get that rocket on the other side of me. So this is where I'm going to be heading in. I'm going to stage that off. There it goes. So remember, my last stage was to eject that one and put the legs down. So now I'm going to turn around again. My thrusters are on. So we're just going to point that in the direction of where we're going to be going. I'm not going to be using a heat shield. I'm going to try to do this without a heat shield. So I'm just going to come in and then hit the thrust. And I put the big rocket on the other side of me because I want it out of my way. Okay, we're about to hit atmosphere. So make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. I'm going to start, there we go. That little adjustment it does there is indicating that you've hit the upper atmosphere. We're coming in pretty fast still. So I'm just going to give it some thrust just to slow down. Uh-oh. I should have taken a peek to see where he was. it's now gone off that way, so we should be okay. But oh, I gotta watch this. The temperature of my legs not here. I don't want to lose them. I could put them up if I wanted to, just to. So just press the two of them just so that they're not going to be attracting too much heat. Mischeck our. So there's the other stage above me there. I'm flying over Mount Olympus. Everybody wave. Uh-oh. I lost my parachute. Okay, so hopefully we're going to be able to land, because I no longer have a parachute. So I can't slow down to... These guys are going to go live at the space station. They don't have a whole lot of choice. So I'm just slowing down. And you can see the atmosphere is so thin here, I'm no longer heating up the legs. I've slowed it down enough that I don't have to worry about it. How's our height doing here? Yeah, I better leave the thruster on for a bit. So we're going to land just on the other side. You can see the other rockets going down over there. Okay, we're low enough. I'm going to bring my legs back down again. I'm watching my speed of how fast I'm dropping, because at some point I'm going to get to the point where I'm taking off again. They're still quite high up, so let's see how high. Yeah, we're still quite high. That's Mount Olympus on that side there. So we're going to land just on the other side of it. Not too worried about the speed, because I'll be able to slow down pretty easy here. That line above me is what sort of indicates my ability to land this thing. In fact, let's go like this. I'm doing this because I want to bring it so that I'm going to land up on that flatter area up top there. There we go. I'm not quite at the top of it, but we're going to be on the side. And the more I'm pointing straight up and down, the more it's going to bring that side back over again. If I point the other way, I can climb up the hill a little bit. Okay, I gotta slow down. Coming in a little bit hot. Up, going up. So that's, I mean, it's so low gravity here that you really have to watch where you go with the thrust. This will work fine. I got lots of fuel, so I'm good. This is where I could have separated and landed the capsule separate from the rocket, but because I lost my parachute, that's kind of out of the picture now. I've got some sideward motion, so I need to thrust it. Thrust! Oh. Bad news, bad news. Okay, we're going to go for a ride, and let's see if we can get to the space station. It says now I've officially crashed. I came in a little bit hot, as you can see. Okay, I'm just now bouncing. And the space station is up there somewhere, so we're probably not. There, it just died. That's how you get to Mars. So, I'm going to stop there. Now, what I should have done again, and I keep forgetting to do it, is before I get to that final approach, save the game. Yeah. Because then I can just reload that one. So, there you go. I'm going to go back to build. And then, what I have here is okay. But what I'm going to do, as I was just mentioning the next time I try this, is I'm going to go to aerodynamics and grab some side parachutes. There we go. Now I've got some side parachutes. If I need to, I can deploy those if I lose the one on the top again. That's where, like I say, I turned the rocket, I let it get behind me. I should have pushed it to the side, not behind. Because I started slowing down and it wasn't slowing down. So, okay, there's the next one for you.